Go for landing, over. Roger, understand. Go for landing. Eagle looking great. Houston, the Eagle has landed.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Independent Comic Showcase. I'm your host, Graham Nolan, and I'm back in streaming again. I had taken a break to work on the Ghost of Matacumba Key and get caught up. I'm going to start doing the Independent Showcase again and also the Storytellers. So Wednesdays is our usual nights, and this one is no different. Tonight, we have a special guest, a first-time crowdfunder, but an old-time writer and artist, amazing legend, Mr. Howard Chaykin. Hello, Howard.
Graham, it's you. Recognizing with that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I was just kidding. Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Of course. It's always a fun time.
But I take nothing for granted, as often we've discussed. We birth our sanguine men.
Well, I mean, if you get out of line, I can always do this. Give you a little Kurt Fu.
I love the primitive stunt work that you regard with such high esteem. I just run. Get the hell out.
It's called Kirk Fu. I
mean, I know it's going to hurt all the audience members who still hold me in any high regard, but I've never seen an episode of the original Star Trek show.
Okay, you're off. That's it.
I was old enough not to be home on a Friday night, and that was it.
That's true. Well, that was third season that they moved it to Friday night. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday originally, wasn't it?
I was just not it. It just space at that point. My nose was raised about that kind of space opera science fiction stuff. Also, everything described that I kept reading that he was describing this wagon train in space. It sounded a lot too much like Horatio Hornblower in space, to tell you the truth.
Oh, it was. It was Hornblower, and it was Jonathan Swift.
Yeah.
The two things that was really motivating. But we're not here to talk about Gene Roddenberry. We're here to talk about Howard Chaykin and a modern-day Conan named Fargo. So this is your first foray into crowdfunding, correct?
Yeah, and I'm very. It's like I'm on tenterhooks, I've resisted it. I got whaled into this by my good pal Michael Stratford, who I've introduced you to. Mm-hmm. You, Mike, and I share so much in terms of our tastes. We read the same stuff. We see the same stuff.
I didn't realize that Mike had backed my giant-sized two-fisted manly tale.
Yeah. I mean, we're all over that stuff. You know that. Mm-hmm. And Strad was the one who introduced me to this stuff. And I grew up. I'm a bit older than you, and I grew up reading a lot of that paperback original stuff from the 50s into the early 70s. But this stuff slipped by me because at the time I wasn't reading westerns, and these books were sold as westerns, where they're really not westerns per se. At its core, the character of Neil Fargo is John Benteen, whose real name was Ben Haas. Benteen took the character that Lee Marvin played in The Professionals, one of my favorite pictures, Richard Brooks's picture.
Oh, I love that movie.
Whose name in the movie was named Fardon. Named him Neil Fargo, gave him a backstory and a deeper career, and built 20 novels out of this. Huh. The novels are they take place in kind of a fungible time between 1910 and 1917.
Okay.
Fargo was an orphan. Left orphaned by a Comanche raid, raised by farmers who worked him to the bone. He ran away, became a circus roustabout, a bouncer in a brothel, a professional boxer, ended up joining the Rough Riders. This is all backstory. But so much of Fargo is an almost ritualistic backstory element. I mean, for example, he has 4 weapons. Okay, mm-hmm. The weapons are each novel introduces the weapon, so you know that this is the stuff that this guy uses. It's Batman's utility belt, and I've described him as being Conan, as if he'd ridden with Pike Bishop and the Wild Bunch, and that's true. He really is that guy. I made a committed effort not to make him look like Lee Marvin, but to make the character look as he is described.
That's cool.
And there is an actor who I will not name on this, but I will name in private with you. That you'll know the name and you'll understand exactly what I mean when I say it.
So that was
Um,
your blueprint, was this actor that you have not named?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
very cool.
A modern contemporary working guy, you
Oh,
know.
okay.
And the narrative is these are very much in the realm of PG-13 action adventure novels written at a time in the last gasp of public transportation when the average guy was riding a bus or a subway to get to a job.
Hmm.
They're written with the length is such that it would give an average subway rider 2 or 3 days of a book. You know,
Hmm.
that's the breakdown. Very much like Richard Stark's Parker novels, like the
Right.
Pendleton stuff, you know, that era. There was just a slew of this work.
Yeah, the
And
modern day pulp.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the stuff. I mean, it's what all of us were reading. I mean, I remember. I mean, I've told you this more than once explicitly that it was Archie Goodwin who wooed me away from science fiction and fantasy into crime fiction.
Hmm.
He said, "Stop reading this. Read this." And what he was selling me was the Rex Stout Nero Wolf stuff, and the Chandler stuff, the Hammett stuff. And by reading Elmore Leonard, Leonard is the one who drew me into westerns. You know, for me, Elmore Leonard's westerns are on a par with his crime fiction. The short stories, as you and I are both huge fans of,
Hmm.
Durano, we both know the Tall T has the birthmarks of Elmore Leonard all over it. And you know, I'm waiting for someone to realize just how sensational it would be to get those back up again and make some serious streaming stuff out of that work. You know, with Justified being as good as it is. And Leonard led me to Lauren Esselman, Ed Gorman, a lot of guys who were writing Western stuff. And you know, I never became a Louis L'Amour fan. I find this stuff really, really, you know, by rote. But
Hmm.
Elmer Kelton is another guy who's really, really good in that regard. If you haven't read Kelton, you would love the Kelton stuff. It's terrific.
Hmm.
It's all very much. I mean, it's look. I grew up watching cowboy pictures, and that's what it's all about. And the reason we opted to do Hell on Wheels, which is number 15 in the series, is that in a lot of ways it encapsulates everything about the character. The character
Okay.
is a 19th century man adventuring in the early 20th century. The level of romance is PG-13. You know, we tend to think that James Bond stuff is much sexier than it actually is. We always cut away, and
Right.
that the same is true here. But Fargo is a no nonsense guy, you know, and with an attitude problem. Nothing more fun than that. The script is all written. You know, I simply moved forward and started writing, and the 186-page paperback is now a 96-page breakdown script. My editor has it, and I'm waiting for him to shred me because that's what he does.
Uh, and the actual story content is what, 96 pages?
96 pages, and then there's going to be a slew of back matter. You know,
And how many pages are done?
I've drawn 5 pages,
Okay.
written all 96.
Okay.
Done the cover, done a book plate, which is showing up on the screen right now. That's him sitting on his trunk.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I've done a couple of bookmarks, which will probably end up being used for flaps, on blurb flaps. So we'll see how it plays out.
I like this one here with the girl with the water cooled machine gun.
That's the first piece I ever did before this was even a possibility of a project.
Right.
Mike has commissioned for me, commissioned standalones of his favorite characters. I did a drawing of Jack Reacher for him many years ago that he ended up showing to Lee Child on one of Child's podcasts, I was really gratified that he saw where I was coming from. I did a pretty solid version of Lamont Cranston for him. And this was just like he said, can you do me a Fargo? And I said, well, sure, why not? And this is that first drawing ever. At that point, I had read the first 2 or 3 of the novels. I mean, the novels are literally run from Alaska down to the jungles of South America. They are quick, action-packed reads. There's Walter stuff, there's Dave's stuff. It's an intriguing pile of material. I really kind of like
Oh
it.
yeah, it has some great pinups here. Butch. Who's this guy here?
That's right. That's Bob Tannenbaum.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the original. Might have been one of the original covers.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I mean, Mike
He's
is
using Steve Holland too, huh?
no. Mike has done all the Steve Holland research, all those books, the Beard Shirt Chronicles. That's all Mike Stratford stuff.
Oh,
Mike is
okay.
in all those pictures of Steve Holland. Do you remember the old Flash Gordon show?
Yes. Well, I
Okay,
I, I know of it. I
you know
never
of it,
saw it, and it was never really released afterwards. But I know of it.
right? Okay.
Oh,
I mean,
Dennis.
look, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, and Mahmood, it was just doing some amazing stuff.
Yeah, this Penosian one is great. I really like that.
And I love Cully's. Cully's is a riot. Cully has the lunacy of the character all caught right there. He's, my one regret, and here's me being specific,
Mhm.
is that he's armed with a Colt 38, and I would really, really love to have given him a shoulder holster with a 1911 45, just because I love the look of a guy in a campaign hat and a 45.
Oh,
That shot of Pike Bishop waving a 45 as they're going out against Mapache's men.
yes, yes.
That's the greatest.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to work in
One of
that
my
landscape.
favorite guns.
Oh no! Look, it's the opportunity to play and work in that realm, in that atmosphere, with that kind of material. It's just like, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I love this world. And again, automobiles, trains, horses, mules, early America. And as I've said more than once recently, the modern world as we know it was invented around this time. So the guys who'd made their fortunes supplying and winning the Civil War on the Union side took that money and reinvested it in the railroads. And the railroads basically were the ones that built the fortunes that made the 20th century possible. By the time these stories are taking place, you got airplanes, you got automobiles. You're seeing radio coming up on the horizon. David Sarnoff is on the roof of the building in 1912, broadcasting, like the ticker tape, taking wireless messages from the Titanic as it sinks.
Wow.
It's an incredibly rich time, and I love this stuff.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess on the actor. You haven't told me who it is. I'm just going to take a wild guess. Just looking at these drawings right here.
Yeah.
Will McDonough.
You mean Neil McDonough?
Neil McDonough. Yeah.
I hate you so much.
Is it right?
I'm not talking to you anymore. Talk to my attorney. I'm so fuck. Wow. Holy damn you. Goose pimples, man. You got me. I'm serious. I'm showing you my arm. You literally goose pimpled me.
Oh, that's hysterical.
I hate you.
But it's a credit to you.
Greatest hits time. I've had it with you.
We're over. We're done.
I'm done here. You really? I mean, and by the way, and not looking at photos.
Right.
Just literally, this is sense memory of the look. The mad blue eyes.
Right.
The way the jaw sets.
White hair.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I cannot. You are the first. Stratford is going to be so amused on my behalf at my expense. Thank you so very much.
Michael's watching the show.
I'm assuming.
I assume you just looked at that idea.
Damn you both. I mean, because when I told Mike that was the case, he said, "Oh yeah, I can see it." But that happened after these pages were drawn.
Wow.
Okay. Because I realized what I was doing. And I've been and again, we don't want this to get out. It'd be just between us, okay? Yeah. Entre nous, as they say in France.
That's it.
And Stratford. By the way, Stratford is a very sanguine fella, and if he comes across and says what he just did, he knows he's going to give me grief and shit on this one later. Absolutely.
The talented David Williams is in the audience. He says hello to you.
David?
Yeah.
There he is.
It's excellent. Excellent.
Well, that's fantastic. That you have no idea. My esteem for you, like Mike said, has grown exponentially.
It was
That
pretty
is.
low to begin with, but now it's up there.
No. I watched you eat. It's okay. But I'm serious. You nailed it. No one has picked up on this. Okay.
Right.
Strad did. And it was like you got there, and the only thing you forgot his first name, but that's forgiven because a man your age, things slip.
Yeah, I only got so much room up here.
Exactly.
I got to make room. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, this is great. This is really an awesome looking book. What is the proposed fulfillment date on this?
I think it's the 10th of November. Mike, if you're there, can you confirm that?
This November?
Yeah.
No, that's not fulfillment. That would be when your campaign
I don't know. My feeling is I'm ready to go as soon as the trigger is pulled. And one of the things that I think as well as anybody is that if I say I'm doing it, it's getting done.
Right.
And I make deadlines because deadlines are as important to me as it is to the client and the publisher. I take it very, very seriously.
Oh yeah, and it's very, very important in the crowdfunding community is to make if you promise something at a date, to hit that date, and if you can't hit that date, keep your backers updated as to what's going on, why it's late, because they'll forgive lateness if they know there's a reason that you're not rushing something, or that everything is going to be perfect when they get it, as opposed to working in corporate comics where you have these arbitrary periodical deadlines,
right,
which is the death of the art form.
I mean, for me, I've been working for Image for the past decade plus, and Image has no editorial oversight, and it has no real deadlines other than you have to have a certain number of books in hand, in the can before they'll solicit. And I have never had a problem or an issue in any way with that, because I get up in the morning, I'm at my desk by 9, and I know what my mission for the day is. Today, for example, I did the artwork on a bookmark for the book. I did a commission, and I oversaw the final colors on the final pages of the trade paperback, the back matter for Hey Kids Comics Volume 3. And I'm out of here on Monday. So between now and Monday, I've got just catching up on stuff. I've got 2 cover assignments. Those comps will go out tomorrow, because I always provide 2 comps. But right now I'm in a holding pattern with Fargo, because my colorist has the remainder of those first 5 pages. He's got the bookmark. Ken has the second bookmark, which will be delivering him. So I'm mostly admin and rough sketches this week, and that's just fine. I've been working my ancient ass to the bone.
You're a hard worker. Hey, who's doing the color on this book?
Gustavo Yen, who has been my guy since Times Squared.
Okay.
Volume. He did all of Hey Kids Comics Volumes 2 and 3. And he's a guy who is from Bogota, Colombia. He's a legacy. My colorists have all been descendants of Humberto Ramos. Humberto trained Edgar Delgado, who in turn trained Jesus Aburto, who in turn trained Gustavo. Gustavo is the youngest of the bunch, and what's happened between me and Gustavo is that I've been feeding him material over the past couple of years, illustrators, books, stuff to look at, and what he's done is he's really developed. You'll know what I'm talking about here. A coloring style that is directly related to storytelling. His understanding of narrative, his use of creating rack focus through blurs and wraparounds. He understands how to frame imagery. It's a great partnership. It's a great collaboration. And he's been champing at the bit to do a period piece like this since we've been working together. As he says, all I want to do is a Western. I said, it's not a Western. He says, yeah, it's a Western, regardless of what you say. It's a Western. Oh, so,
yeah. You
So,
throw
so
a cowboy hat, a horse, and a Winchester in it, it's a Western. It doesn't matter what year it takes place.
he's been craving to do this. He's been doing some really nice work for Marvel as well. But for me, I make demands of him that are insane. Like, look, that cover is just an absolute breathtaking coloring piece.
This is beautiful. This cover, the
Yeah.
colors, the not over modeling on it.
No,
Yeah,
he's really good. And I got Ken Bruzenak on lettering and on production.
he's one
And
of your favorites, yeah.
you can't have a better team than that. You know,
Yeah.
3 raging pains in the ass. You know, I mean,
Hey, let's do a refresh. See if we picked up any backers here.
it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
I
you
expect
gotta get out here and support this thing. This is, one of those things you're never going to see at Marvel and DC. When you get, just straight up action adventure tales. Man against elements, man against other men. These are the things I was preaching with Two-Fisted Manly Tales because we need more of this kind of stuff.
Look,
Instead of just
as
I'm
you've
sorry.
heard me say, one of the great regrets is that my generation never was really able to translate the ethos of EC into a working franchise.
Mhm.
I'd love to have seen action adventure books, as a commonplace
Mhm.
back in the 70s and 80s, and it just never emerged. And
They tried. They tried to do those magazines and stuff with like Marvel did some stuff that Hama was editing. The action adventure stuff, and it just didn't take.
the audience just, I mean, look, the closest anybody got to was what Golden was doing on the NAM,
Mm.
which was just exquisite work. But
Oh yeah,
again, a franchise that never really caught on. It's like I've always I could never get a solid answer out of Kurtzman about why Two-Fisted Tales became a war book when they could have included a war story but continued doing adventure stories.
right.
I would love to have seen Two-Fisted continuing in the direction of doing the kind of stuff like the modern day work version of John Buchan stuff, or of Hemingway's early short stories, and just give me a Western, give me a crime, give me a war story, give me an urban adventure,
Right.
and like to see with the Mask of Demetrios, see what Eric Ambler, I mean,
You can see in all different eras too. It could be modern
Right,
day. It could be,
no,
it could be back in the 40s. It could be any time that where if you need a story about, say, a profession that doesn't really exist anymore, but
right,
is
exactly.
cool to tell. You just throw it back into that era.
Well, Garth Ennis years and years ago. Garth Ennis turned me on to a guy named Keith Robinson. Robinson is a guy who writes about the British Air Service, about the Royal Air Force, and both in the First and Second World Wars. And I've never read a guy who more successfully and succinctly conveys what it must have felt like to be in a cockpit in a propeller-driven plane in the middle of a dogfight.
Mm.
The closest anybody else I've ever read is James Salas in The Hunters. And this stuff is just demands to be translated into the kind of world we're talking about.
Right.
Hey, Dave.
Yep. That's it. Savage Tales. Yep.
Right. That's it. Yeah. And again, Hama really tried because Hama loves this stuff because Hama basically learned this stuff at Woody's knee. I mean, Woody, given his druthers, would have been doing this stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Eclipse had a magazine that they hired a lot of like Spanish artists for back in the mid 1980s, like around 86. It was a black and white magazine. And it was.
I think those were reprints, though.
Well, they probably were reprints of European stuff, like Ortiz's work.
Palestero stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what that magazine was called, but I really enjoyed that.
I did too. They're up on my shelf. And look, you and I are both Roy Crane fans.
Oh yeah,
and Smith fans and Sickle fans. So that world is something that really appeals to us on a regular basis.
Yeah,
and Fargo fits into that world. Fargo, I mean, doing this stuff, pulling research on the woman's costume on that cover, for example.
Right.
Trying to find a way, that happy medium that exists between depicting a woman of 1910, making her accessible to a 2023 audience, and be able to see the eyes without playing with the anachronism that too often happens. I mean, for example, when Johnson did his cover, You know, the original version, I said that woman has hair that came out of a 1970s Western. Give her that. And I sent him shots of Evelyn Nesbit, you know, who's the girl in the Red Velvet Swing, who was responsible for the murder of Stanford White at the hands of Harry K. Thaw in Madison Square Garden. And she was the pinup girl of that era. She was a Ziegfeld girl and a Gibson girl as well.
Oh.
And her hair piled on her head, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm looking a lot at the Gilded Age, that television series from the guys who did Downton Abbey.
Okay.
The art direction there, and you know, just playing with tropes of that era. One of the things I'm really looking forward to getting into the meat of the book is what's available. And here we're getting into the granular stuff. And again, you'll dig this. It's just the graphic nature of the design of locomotives. Locomotives are these huge and fantastic machines that lend themselves to design. There was an artist and photographer of the 1920s through the 50s named Charles Sheeler, who both photographed and painted industrial subjects. And he broke them down into abstracts. And of course, in those abstractions, you saw the truth behind the machines. And that really made a difference. And a lot of that is going to influence this here. The story takes place in Idaho, in the Coeur d'Alenes, which is an incredibly fun landscape to play with. Totally pre-industrial. You know, the towns themselves are small burgs, you know, and just, you know, it's packed with the kind of ND characters that I love doing. You know, roustabouts, you know, thugs, miners, railroad men, hoodlums. Right. You know, and again, just this is my meat, you know, and I've done this world before. I mean, I did, you know, with Century West and in Sunshine Patriots as well. So I love this period.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the rewards to interest buyers to come into this thing. I mean, I love the idea of the hardcover here. I think that's what I backed. Tell us what your favorite perk level is here. What do you like?
Well, I mean, I of course love the signed hardcover because I'm a cheap date and I love the attention, and my signature and that book plate will be a tipped in book plate and signed.
Okay.
You know, I've been suckered into doing remarks, which, you know, I mean, it's a lot of work. You know,
Yes,
I mean, you know, trying to, but you know, you gotta serve mammon. You know. Mammon demands, you know, so there you go.
This is smart. This is good. A retail bundle. I do that on mine too. I hope you get it. You get
retail bundle
too. Yeah, that's good.
And I will be doing commission sketches, commission drawings, reproduction drawings. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you look down there, those are two of the drawings that Lamont Cranston piece I mentioned earlier. That's what that is. That's Cranston standing in front of an airplane engine.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know, and the other piece, of course, these are all commission pieces that I did for Mike. And Mike is a demanding client. He's really a pain in the ass. Yes, you know, he's a badass. So you know, I'm just, you know, I'm doing everything I possibly can within the realm of reality to get this running.
And you're offering to draw somebody into the book as a background character, or for $1,000 they get killed in a fight scene. I mean, how cool is that?
I mean, the fact is, and I'm only hoping there are people whose death I'm praying for are willing to come across with this, because I'd really love to draw somebody I really hate dying. You know, and again, when we're off camera, I'll give you a list. You blew me away with that Neil McDonough stuff, so I can't share anything with you in public anymore.
Hey, but you didn't tell me. I mean, I just.
That's. Look, as I said, as Strad said, and as I say to you, my regard has multiplied exponentially. You know.
All right.
And we're offering some signed copies of other material, doing some remarks. Oh, a lot of remarks. Damn, a lot of remarks. Look at all the work I got to do. How dare they?
So these have already been claimed. 40 of 40,
yeah,
20, 20. Okay, beautiful.
I'm going to be buried. I'm buried by this. They're taking my ass away. I mean, I'm old. You got to be very gentle with me. You know, come on. It's really sad. You know?
Yes, you're just a little flower, aren't you? I'm a woodland thorn. Yeah. And if anybody believes that, he'll give you a free
Well, I've got
copy.
this grid. You know, I'm willing to come across. We can work out a deal, a bargain here.
Oh, here
You
we go.
know,
Here's a nicer, larger shot of that cover. Yeah, that's
again, I mean, the opportunity to combine all the organics, all that costume stuff
yeah.
with the locomotives and the trains, and it's just an incredibly rich universe of reference and material.
So this
The
stuff here,
funniest
the
yeah,
artists, is that included in the book?
yes,
Like
that's all
you know,
back.
extra goodies.
Yes, yes,
Very cool.
yes.
Very cool. All right.
I mean, one of the funniest things is these guys. I mean, the way these guys interpret the concept of a campaign hat. It's a smoky hat. And when I looked at my reference stuff that dates between 1900 and 1920, the brim changes size a lot. It's just there's wider, broader ones, and there's narrower ones. And we live in a culture that is post hat. Hats are now ironic. So learning how, you'll notice a couple of guys opted not to do the hat because they're afraid of hats. It's a bitch to draw the way they fit. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I did,
it's a skill. You got to, if you're going to
yeah,
be drawing period pieces, you got to know how to draw hats. If you're going to draw a Western, you got to know how to draw hats and horses. So
right.
you got to up your game, guys, if you want to do any of those.
This one's got a lot of mules in it. I mean, that's and again, I've got a sequence that's very specific. I mean, it's when I was a kid, when I was in my 30s, I was a huge fan of the A-Team. And it was before I knew about drinking games. My then wife and I watched the A-Team religiously. And when it came time to armor the van, that was the time we got high. So we got loaded for the armor of the van. And Fargo in every novel will go through a ritualistic display of his 4 weapons. And the weapons are a Colt 38, a Winchester 30, a Batanga knife, which he got when he served in the Philippines, and a sawed-off shotgun that is a fine hunting piece from England that has been corrupted and cut down with a plaque with a little plate on the grip that designates as a gift from Teddy Roosevelt, because he and Roosevelt are still thick as thieves. Mm-hmm. And the Roosevelt connection figures prominently in a number of the novels. Both as a story, an inciting incident, and as a plot point. Mm-hmm. And the one regret I have here is I didn't get an opportunity to do a meeting with TR. It would have been a gas.
Yeah,
I love drawing Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, if this goes, you'll probably have an opportunity in another story.
Let us pray. Let us.
Prater 7 has a question. Howard, do you have a blog or newsletter that we can follow to keep up to date with news about this, about your stuff?
I'm posting this daily on Facebook, daily, hourly. I mean, and Mike Stratford invaded and literally moved in and took over my Facebook page today.
Okay.
And so basically, come on Facebook. You can go to the Howard Chaykin page, go to my page, and you'll be able to keep abreast there.
And if you back the project, you'll get updates,
right.
Vis-a-vis through Zoop. So
basically, here's an opportunity to own a piece of me.
That's it. Let's see, another question here. Is this a complete story in one book or the first of a series?
It's number 15 in 20 novels, but it is a complete story. The reason that we were able to literally take 15 as opposed to starting with number 1, the first book, is that the novels are all standalones. Mm-hmm. There's no sense of they could all take place on the same day. The characters are the novels can be read in any order, in any sequence, because there's no the only character that carries over from any one to the novel to the other is his references to Teddy Roosevelt. He's alone on his own, getting out there. And as I said, this is a complete standalone story. There's no we meet Fargo in media res, and we leave him at the end with the implication that there's going to be trouble ahead, but having no idea what that trouble may be. But we know there's trouble because that's what Fargo is. As a soldier of fortune, he constantly falls into problems which he has to solve.
Mm-hmm.
That is a time-honored tradition of this sort of character. The Conan reference cannot be overstated. To a great extent, Conan as a model for this sort of character is a frequent mention. I mean, I always felt that Gil Kane's Savage was Conan in the urban environment, and this is Conan in the beginning, at the early days of the 20th century. In the same way that Conan brought the barbarism of Samaria into the Hyborian age, into what, you know, the sort of symbolic Roman era. Fargo takes that 19th century, you know, rough and tumble into the polished sheen of the early 20th century. That's who that character is.
Oh, that sounds awesome. You know, so these books, the original paperbacks, were written 60s, 1960s?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because this series escaped me too. I've heard of all the other ones we've talked about, but I never heard of Fargo.
Well, they were published by a kind of a shitty publishing company.
Okay.
You know, I think it might have been Zebra or Belmont, who had very little distribution. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know about you, but I grew up in New York, and I never saw Dell Comics anywhere. They were never distributed where I grew up.
Yeah, I saw Dell Comics.
No, they had no franchise.
Yeah.
And what I mean, the Fargo paperbacks I've seen have been for one small, low distribution publishing companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've got them all on the Kindle, you know, so I'm reading them there. And the covers on the Kindle are all very much reflect the Lee Marvin-ness of it. And right. There are some stratas shown. I've seen some of the better covers, Bob Tannenbaum, were Holland modeling. And there's certainly references to that. This stuff is, as you said, modern pulp. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. This is not a character who thinks before he acts. He acts and consider the consequences after the fact, which is, for my money, is what defines pulp and noir.
And we need more of this. Those men of action, badasses, but but they don't act out of specific malice. You know, they act because they're forced into something. But they have the abilities and the wherewithal to do what's right and to get the job done. I love those kind of stories.
Knight errant. That's really what it's all about. Right. You know, it's a knight, the knight of the broken lance. You know, a guy who, I mean, his description of it is he's butt ugly but beautiful just the same.
Is that how is he described that way?
Yes.
Like an ugly man, or like a guy whose face is answering a lot of questions.
Ugly that he's beautiful. Ugly that he's beautiful.
Right.
You know, and it's, I can't do that. So basically, I'm going with the actor you named. You named. Damn you.
Oh, Michael says that the books ran from 69 to 82, so they were later than that.
Late, jeez.
Yeah, I was thinking early mid 60s.
And again, they were there for me to find them, but I'm totally below my, under my radar. Never was aware at all. You know. Yeah.
Well, this is a great project. There's a lot of people in the chat said that they're planning on backing this, which is great.
Well, thanks, Elia.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to thank Graham for having me on. Because Graham and I, when we are in the same city, we devour. Okay.
There's not a cow left standing.
It's true. We are omni carne loca. We are all over the place.
That's right.
And we were supposed to have dinner in Jersey this past summer, but a medical issue that happened in my house forfended it, and I was really pissed because, I mean, our conversations are always a complete and total amalgam of shop talk and shit talk. And
it's true. That's true.
It's true. I mean, why lie? We are deeply opinionated men. We share enormous amount of taste. Where we agree, it is profound. Where we disagree, it is equally profound.
Yeah.
And I'm of the belief that too much agreement spoils a chat. You know, and
boring.
so yeah, come on,
boring. Sometimes you
again,
gotta,
that artisanal ice cream joint we found, that artisanal ice cream place.
Yeah. In
Ah,
Morristown.
right?
Yeah.
I'm booked again for this year. I'm doing a makeup, so I'll be there. You going to be there?
I think so.
All right. We got a date. We got a mandate. Yeah, I'm
You
in.
mean how about we have a little ice cream date?
We do. Come on, that ice cream was far from delicate. That was some buttercream. That was some berserk
That was
stuff.
some good shit. Yeah.
Really good.
Shit.
I mean,
Well, hey
I
guys,
love it.
I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming in here and listening. I hope you guys will all go out and back and share
Please.
this link on your social media so we can get some eyeballs on this project. You guys know the drill. This is what it's all about is getting eyeballs on these projects. A guy like Howard is somebody you can trust because he's got a huge track record, and the quality of his work is going to be amazing. And let's not chase him out of crowdfunding. Let's draw him in and have him do more of this shit because this is the kind of stuff I want to read. I hope you guys too.
Well, I mean, one of these days, Graham and I are going to do something together.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Figure out a way to do a two-fisted tale.
There we go.
Just a standalone.
Right.
I mean, because down the line, assuming I live long enough, I would love to find a way to do an anthology that incorporates this sort of stuff, to do short form pieces. It would be a gas to get some licenses of some classic short material. Go to Manhunt, go to the Elmer Leonard short stories, some of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, I want to, I really want to see someone finally get their heads together and do the Carlos Walker stories. That stuff is just just reeking. So
nice.
One more time, thanks, Graham, and thanks all you guys.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. Aaron Lopresti is launching today too. I think he's over on Ethan's channel. So
what's he doing? What's Aaron doing?
Aaron's got a new project called Kit Carter. He's got this sci-fi girl adventure story, which is really great. So
well, give him my love.
Yes.
I haven't seen Aaron in a long time, and again, thanks so much for your patience, your time, and your attention.
Absolutely. Guys, have a great night, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Right if you get work.